probably not optimistic today, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Hey, can you see me well? I have to be on my phone today. I think my kids broke my webcam, man.
All good.
So am I good? Okay, yeah. I'm good. Disappointed, a little disappointed, but I'm good.
Well, let's talk about it, man, because, man, like that game that the final two games, I can't separate them. They're connected like conjoined twins, right? I don't know why I said that, but it just doesn't feel right.
What's disappointing, I think, so this is for me, and I think I can speak for a lot of people. What's disappointing is you knew what you had, right? You knew that things were clicking, things were rolling, and then once again, you feel like it's just a continuation of what it was last year, where we had everything to play for, and for whatever reason, we just couldn't take grasp of it, right? We know what happened with the Texas game, but when you look at it from this game, the defense did their job. The offense was moving the ball. We just didn't make the plays when it was necessary. Our playmakers didn't step up. We had moments within the game to take control of it. We lost that. The defense did everything that they could, but they finally broke on that last scoring drive. It's just that's the part that's disappointing. You had the crowd. I mean, you had Kyle Field, the atmosphere. It was electric, man. You could feel it through the TV. And, I'm at home watching it. I mean, it gave me goosebumps. It had me wanting to run back out out of the tunnel. But when you look at just the totality of the season, when you look at what is this, 13 total games, and you're talking about two of them, the two that stick out is just what you remember last. But overall, man, I thought it was a good season, but the disappointment of just not being able to take advantage of the moments. We had the moments within the game. We just didn't do it. That's the disappointing part. That's the part where, you're up at night. It's like, what did we do? How did we miss this? Why did we not, take advantage of opportunities? That's the disappointing part.
Yeah, man. So were they the team at the end of the year? Or were they the team at the beginning of the year, or most of the year? And the reason I bring that up is there's a lot of arrows, like, A&M finally, when they played teams, this is who they were. I tend to think they peaked early and they lost something at the end. What do you think?
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because you saw a team. So when you talk about who they were, that's a team that consistently shows you who they are. But you saw a team that won in multiple facets, so that's different, right? In years past, we've lost in a consistent fashion, or won games in a consistent fashion. When you saw us this year, you saw a team that won close games, a team that won in blowouts, a team that came back, a team that fought through multiple scenarios that you would face, especially in a playoff scenario. I just think in the last two games, what you saw, you really saw a down play in offense. Defensively, there were some moments we couldn't stop the run. We couldn't stop the exterior runs. And that was the thing that came to bite us late in the game against Miami. But offensively, I think it's when you really saw everything start to go downhill, because the playmakers weren't making the plays. I think injuries had a lot to do with that, right? Once again, Le'Veon Moss goes out. But our guys on the outside that had been making plays all year long, especially when it came to the Texas game and this game, you just didn't see them do that. You didn't see them step up. I also thought that Marcel, he looked like he pressed a lot, right? So I know we talked about that after the Texas game. It seemed like he was pressing, trying to make plays. You kind of noticed the same thing a little bit in this game. So I just think that when you look at what the offense did, I think that was kind of our bugaboo going into these last two games, where we just didn't take advantage from that standpoint, because we had been rolling, we had been operating, we had been able to generate points, generate big plays. And that kind of lacked in the last two games. So I just think that, we get caught up in that scenario. But from a totality, from a trajectory standpoint, I think that we're moving in the right direction. But it's hard not to feel disappointed, not to be upset, not to think that, maybe this is who we were. But you can't believe those lies. You have to look at the totality of what we've done. And you got to look at what we can do moving forward, man. And it's exciting to see what we can do.
Jordan, when it comes to Marcel, let's talk about the biggest games he's played in. I would argue the biggest games are his very first start ever at Florida, which was phenomenal, because the season could have gone one of two ways at that point, right? So you got that one, the Texas game the Texas game to end the year last year, okay?
Yeah.
Both LSU games.
Yep.
And the Miami game, and then Notre Dame. I'll give him Notre Dame. Half of them in the early half of the year, fantastic. Yep. The ones later in the year, not fantastic. And if you look at the way the season ended last year, and I'm talking about at Kyle Field, rough game against Texas, rough game against Texas this year, rough game against Miami. No touchdowns in your last 2 home games to end seasons. The last game against Texas and the last game against Miami. Not 1 touchdown at Kyle Field. What's happening with Marcel or the offense in these pressure cooker games? And again, I'm giving him credit for the other ones, but at the end of the year, pressure cookers.
I think if you look at the common denominator, it'd be the run game, the lack of run game. If you also look at the common denominator, it's when Le'Veon Moss left. All right, so we go back to South Carolina last year. We go back to what game did he get hurt this year? Was it Florida?
Florida game, Florida.
Okay, yeah. So when you look at Le'Veon leaving, you look at the production that fell off. The consistency of the production fell off. Right now, we fast forward to the Texas game. It didn't really spear its head until we played Texas, and I think the lack of the run game forced him to be perfect in the pass game. So what I mean by him pressing, when you go to the Texas game, you saw him press a little bit more than normal because there was a lack of a run game, right? A consistent run game, a consistent run threat from that standpoint. And so we had to make more plays, and it didn't open up the offense as much as we wanted it to, right? So you go to this game, it's kind of the same thing. I think we had maybe, 50 yards combined out of the backs, I think, something of that nature, something close. And so now you're becoming one-dimensional, right? You heard Elko say it at the post game, is they control the line of scrimmage. By controlling the line of scrimmage, I can now dictate what you do offensively, and so that forces us to press as an offense, especially in the pass game. I think just in the last 2 games that we played, the lack of the run game is what really hurt us because it didn't allow us to open up the offense. It didn't allow Klein to get a flow and a rhythm going. But at the end of the day, too, as well, our guys on the outside just weren't consistent enough in making the plays. And so we had to be able to step up in that end as well. And we had the people to do that because we saw previously 11 total games where they were doing that, right? So I just think that when you look at one thing that you can pinpoint, yes, Marcel has to play better. Marcel has to be a leader. He has to step up. He has to put the game on his shoulders. But also at the same time, if you correlate that with the run game, it doesn't allow you to open up the offense, and it doesn't allow a rhythm to be created because now you make yourself one-dimensional. So I think that was the pinpoint in these last 2 games.
All right. So what happened to the line of scrimmage? And we'll start off with the offensive line because Miami won that battle. And they won that battle multiple ways. Not only 7 sacks, 6 in the second half, but as you mentioned, couldn't run the ball. And that's not all on the backs. Part of that is opening up holes.
Yeah, I just think it boils down to they just whooped us. That's just what it boils down to. Look, there's not a lot of science involved in this, man. It was man versus man, and they just handled the point of attack better than we did, especially within the interior between our center and guard play. I just think that they handled the line of scrimmage. They beat us man to man, and that's just what it was, right? If you flip it to the defensive side of the ball, we didn't get the pressures that we normally get as well when you're talking about the defensive side, right? Cassius Howard didn't really make his presence felt with Texas and against Miami and our interior guys as well. I just think, man, we lost that line of scrimmage battle, which in turn made us lose the run battle, which in turn made us one-dimensional in our pass game and allowed those pass rushers to get off. But overall, we were still in the game. It's just opportunities. And when opportunities there, you got to take them. So you look at that last drive, we drive basically 99 yards essentially on that last drive, have an opportunity to go up and still don't take advantage of it. So those are the things in those tight window games where you have moments that can turn and shift the game. In these last 2 games, man, we didn't take advantage of those.
You're a coach. Do you care? And I'm sure you care at some point, but it's football and there's talking that happens, right? Do you care that there were some comments made by A&M about Miami? And even though I don't think they were egregious in what they were trying to say, Bain had 4.5 sacks coming into the season. He had 3 in that game, right? And he was the center of some of that controversy. Do you have a problem with that at all? No. Look,
man, bulletin board material is the most fugazi thing on the planet. At the end of the day, man, we're going to line up. We're going to play each other. I can say whatever I want to say, but my talent is my talent. So you're looking at Bain and what he did production-wise in the season versus what he did on Saturday. Well, you also have to look at the situation. How many times did we drop back and pass? How many opportunities did he have in order to get those sacks? When you look at that and you compare that to us, Miami really hunkered down on the run game because we couldn't stop that. Remember when we first got into the season at the beginning of the year, we already played Notre Dame. I said, the number one thing we have to do is we have to earn the right to rush the passer, right? So in those games where Cassius Howell went off, we earned the right to rush the passer, allowing the offense to get into predictable situations, and our pass rush can go to work. It's the same thing that happened with Miami. We couldn't establish the run, so they earned the right to rush the passer, and they took advantage of that. And so that's hard when you're asking an offensive line to consistently pass block, especially when you have no counter in the run game. So you have to take that with a grain of salt. And if you don't understand what you're looking at, if you're looking just at a box score, you just see, well, they whooped us and they did that. No, you got to understand the context and the flow of the game and how play calling is all absorbed within that. So look, man, all that bulletin board stuff, I've been in a lot of games where there's been a lot of talking. All that stuff goes away after the first hit. You got to go and you got to play games because that motivation died. But we just didn't hold up our end of the bargain in that particular situation within the game.
Jordan, help me understand this, because to me, the defense did not lose the game big picture. But if you kind of take a microscope to it, right, you only gave up 10 points. You got to win that game, right? Like that, you got to score more than 10. But I believe part of the problem was all game long, yes, Miami didn't move the ball that effectively against A&M, but they kept on chipping away with those yards, right? And every once in a while, they would get that big run. And then at the end of the game, the defense is exhausted. And I don't know if that's the reason for the big misfit or whatever happened on that 56-yard run from Fletcher. But, like, the defense played well enough to win. But the defense was a huge problem in that game still.
The defense was a problem in the later part of the third quarter and the fourth quarter. That's where the defense was a problem at. All right. So if you say that we only gave up 10 points, if you say that Carson Beck only threw for 103 yards, I tell you we win this game handily, right? But when you look at it, 56 of the yards came in the fourth quarter off one run. I think there was, I want to say it was like a 30-yard run maybe, something like that. I want to say it was third quarter. So if you're looking at two runs in the totality of it, that's really what the defense gave up. They gave up two runs, but it was two runs in two critical moments that hurt us, right? I thought the defense played well. I thought the defense did what they were supposed to do. When you're playing a team that is evenly matched, like we talked about before the game, man, there's going to be moments where they make plays. So there was 3 total plays made in this game. Well, 4 if you count the interception. But you had the punt return from Malachi Toney, and you had the 2 big runs. Outside of that, the defense did their job. But you have to be able to counter that, one, either through special teams or one through offense. And still, at the end of the day, the name of the game is who can score more points than the other team. That's the name of the game. And we only gave up 1 touchdown the entire game. So that's the facts of it, right? The fact that we just couldn't manufacture points, we couldn't take advantage of situations, it puts a lot of pressure on the defense because we know that we can't have any breaks, any lapses, anything. Plus, we're on the field longer, right? That stuff is tiring. I've been in those situations before. It's not an excuse. You still got to make plays, but that is the reality of the situation. From the totality, you can't get caught up in the fact that the defense lost us the game because they didn't. But there were moments and plays that eventually, if you want to say lack of a better term, broke the dam on us, and we just couldn't recover from a totality standpoint for the team. That's the biggest thing.
So even though the 2 biggest games of the year were losses, do you look at this season as a successful season?
We have the most – I was thinking about this the other day. We have the most successful – what's the best way to put it? The most successful non-successful season I think you can have in college football history. You have an 11-2 team that didn't play for a conference championship, that has no type of trophies per se, accolades, this, that, and the other. I think it's amazing that you can go 11-1 and miss the conference title, do all that. But when you look at the totality of the season, it's a huge success, right? You're talking about 2 losses. They just happen to come at the end of the year. Are you talking about a team that went on an 11-game win streak? You're talking about a team who built from year 1 to year 2. This is the second year that Mike Elko has been at the helm. And look at the trajectory of the program. You can almost compare it a little bit to Indiana, the same kind of thing. And Signetti get in at the same time. You look at the trajectory of year 1 for Indiana. You look at where they are year 2. We're kind of in the same boat. We weren't in the playoffs year 1, but we had the opportunity to get there. You look at what we did this year. We made it to the playoffs this year, but we just didn't take advantage. Now the question is how do we build upon that? What is the things that we have to put in place? What are the changes that we have to make in the offseason in order to take full advantage? If you tell me that we go 8-5 to 11-2 from year 1 to year 2, I take that all day long. The thing now is, what is it going to take in order for us to break that last wall down and get over the top, get over the hump, win a conference, but also win playoff games and play for the national championship? That's the challenge at hand now. What pieces do we have in place? What changes do we need to make? And how can we get that mentality into this team in order to take advantage of that next year?
Talking to Jordan Pugh here on Tex-Ex Live. All right, Jordan. So building blocks are there. This team is going to look very different next year. A lot of dudes probably going to the NFL. A lot of dudes running out of eligibility. Offensive line will look different. Defensive line will look different. You got a new defensive line coach. You've got a linebackers coach coming in. And you've got a schedule next year that doesn't today look very kind. Got to go on the road to Oklahoma, to Tuscaloosa, to Baton Rouge, to Missouri today. So how optimistic can a program be about year 3 based on what I just laid out for you?
Very optimistic, because college football is going to change drastically between now and August, right? But the one thing that I do know is now you have the luxury of having 2 years of body of work with Mike Elko. And so now my ability to trust in what he's building is at an even higher level than it is now. Okay. So the question is the nucleus of the team. What do you have? You got your quarterback back. You have some key nucleus guys on defense that'll be back. But at the end of the day, you have Elko, who is constructing this thing, a guy who has built this culture, a guy that has put a mindset into this program. Now just the work begins. How do you formulate the team? How do you connect the dots? And I think that he's done a masterful job of doing that in his first 2 years. But the biggest thing now is, like I've always said before, it's never been a talent issue with us. It's never been a player issue. It's never been a talent acquisition issue with us. How can we get these guys to understand that championships are available to us? How do we get them to take control of that? And that's a mentality shift. And I think once we can do that, once we can lock in and we can get the focus part down, especially towards the end of the year, because you saw that trend in both years, I think that's where you'll see the difference with us. So I'm excited. And I'm very, very high on what we can do next year because Mike Elko is at the helm. That's the difference. I think things are going to change constantly, but you have the head guy who's been steady, who has shown you progression each and every year.
Jordan, did we overperform or underperform?
We did what we were supposed to do. We were supposed to win games. We were supposed to go undefeated. That is look. One of the biggest things that drives me crazy is the battered Aggie syndrome. The people who use the word fear, who use the word downfall, who use all of that. It's time that, man, look, you got to stand on something. And if you believe this team is capable of winning championships, and you need to act like that and act accordingly. And I think this year what you saw is you saw what you can be. You saw what this team is fully capable of. Now it's just the last 2 moments that you saw. We're a prisoner of the moment. You saw us fall short on the biggest stages. And sometimes that is the hardest thing to do, is break through on those last few moments. And we've been closer than ever. So for everybody who wonders, man, was it success? Did we falter back to who we were? Were we frauds all year? I would say you don't understand what a championship mentality is. And you're seeing that shift each and every year, or well, the 2 years now, but each and every year that Elko's been there, you've seen that shift in this team, right? And so you've seen that trajectory just go up. So now, based off past history, I have nothing. I'm nothing but excited moving forward with what we have, because I've seen us do it 2 years now in the hardest conference, and you've seen us take control of our destiny. Now we just got to finish. The hardest part is getting these guys to finish. And as a coach, I can tell you that when you're standing on that sideline, you put those game plans together, and it's in those kids' hands, and they got to make those plays. The one thing that you hope that you did was you hope that they understand, and you instill the finish in them. That is the last part that we're lacking. And the hardest thing to do is break through on that championship side. But once you finally get a taste of that, everything is downhill from that standpoint. So, man, I'm excited, and I think we have all the pieces that we need.
Jordan, last thing for you. Did you pay attention to volleyball?
Yes, I did. You know, my wife's a volleyball coach.
That's what I thought.
This is in the fair. I was sitting there watching the national championship. Of course I was. You know, my mom was a little bit upset. My mom's from Kentucky, so she went to UK. Yeah, so we got to watch a little bit of that. But see, man, the championship DNA is in us, man. Now it's just time to translate to the football side. But, I was definitely watching. Me, the wife, and the girls were watching that.
Man, that run that they went on, Jordan, we're about to have Jamie Morrison in the studio talk about it. Like, I look at it as like all the one seeds that they annihilated, man. Like, that was just, it's going to be something, even if you're not a volleyball fan, that I think you're going to hold on to for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Look, championships are a beautiful thing. But like I just said, you saw a team that tasted it now. Look, man, I'm excited about the trajectory of just A&M in general. You've seen us knocking on the door across all sports, right? The volleyball finally turned it over. But, man, on the football side, we're right there. We're there. We're right there. One of the things that I give my players is this. I said, man, one of the hardest things to do is climb the mountain. Because as you climb that mountain, the air gets thinner and thinner at the top, right? It's those guys who are willing to fight through and push through that, man, and so you can accomplish what it's like to breathe that thin air. We're right there. We're right there at the peak. But now it's just changing the mentality, and we'll be fine moving forward.
Merry Christmas, man. I'll talk to you soon, all right?
Yes, sir.